Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for tuning in. Today I'm going to be talking about why Porsche prices are so high. There's a lot of noise on this subject and I've seen lots of videos lately on which Porsche prices are going to be going up, which Porsche prices are going to be coming down. Is the market going to crash? But I've never really seen anything discussing why the Porsche prices are so high to begin with. Now this information is purely my own. It's by no means a definitive list. So if you have something that you might want to contribute to this list, then please put a comment in the box below. So we've got 7 of these points to run through and I'd be extremely interested to see if you agree with the last thing on this list. So let's do business. So the first thing on the list is probably something that you've never even thought of before. Social media platforms like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook are flooded with pictures of Porsches, what are supposed to be cool people with their Porsches. People like driving the old classics, driving the new modern stuff, and it kind of paints a picture of somebody having the perfect life. Now, if you see somebody having the perfect life, not necessarily you, but some people may think that, you know, I want a piece of that. And so they see the Porsche brand as being associated with a luxury life and they want a piece of that. So I think the Porsche cars will always be in demand, whether it's a 20-year-old 996 or a brand new 992 Turbo S. There'll always be a market for each and every single segment of the Porsche lineup. And I think probably a lot of people want to be seen as cool, having the perfect life and succeeding in life. I'm kind of guilty myself. Every nighttime I'm flicking through Instagram and all I see is Porsche, 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 girl in hot tight pants, Porsche, Porsche, Porsche. And I think to myself, God, I'd love a Turbo S, I'd love a GT3, I'd love a GT3 RS. You can't have them all, but you can have something. Now the next reason, because of COVID, is a reason why Porsche prices have gone up in value and kind of stayed there. Not all of them, but I will explain. During COVID, new car manufacturers like Porsche couldn't get the cars through the production lines because they didn't have the staff, they didn't have the parts. So they were unable to fulfill orders for brand new cars. So people were thinking, well, okay, I don't really want to wait a few years to get a new 911, a new Cayman. So I'm going to go and see what's available on the used market for a car that's maybe 1, 2, 3 or 4 years old. And that's exactly what they were doing. Now I spoke to a lot of Porsche specialists and they were telling me that sometimes all it would take was like an Instagram post to say, hey, I've got this black 992 Carrera coming in, anybody interested? And the phone would be constantly ringing about a particular car. So I think the specialists, the second-hand specialists, were knowing that they could get a car in and they could sell it quite easily with putting a premium on top of the price it would normally be, and they weren't having any issues getting that car out the door and sold. So I think it is starting to die off now. It has been starting to die off for maybe a year or so, but some models within the range you will still find they've gone high, they've stayed high, and they show no sign of coming down in price anytime soon. Next up is a thing which is actually pretty obvious. It's the way the car looks, the way the car has been built, the iconic, timeless design of especially the Porsche 911. The quality, the workmanship, the craft, the ingenuity, the blood, the sweat, the tears that goes into designing and making these cars. I've got a 2021 Suzuki Jimny, which I drive as my daily driver. It's a brand new car almost, and the quality of that car is miles behind that of one of my Porsches. So my 2006 997 Carrera 4S, for example, the quality and the engineering in that car is streets ahead, and that car is coming up in a few years to 20 years old. So there's a lot to be said for German quality, German engineering, and of course, you know, the sound the car makes, the way the car makes you feel when you're in the cockpit of the car. It's like nothing else. You can try something, but I think you'll always go back to Porsche. That's just my point of view in any case. But as I said, you know, it's an iconic shape. The engineering is fantastic. The way the car drives is like nothing else on the road. And people pay a premium for that. It's as simple as that. Now, next up, I think Porsche has a very high standard and a very good reputation of producing quality sports cars, as I touched on in the last one. Now imagine a scenario where Porsche were to produce a really, really low level budget, entry level Porsche car, which was like say £20,000. If they were to produce a car for that selling price, the chances are it wouldn't meet the generally high standards that Porsche set in terms of engineering, in terms of quality. And so I think probably what would happen is that brand or that brand would probably be devalued a little bit, because that car wouldn't have the same reliability, it wouldn't have the same desire, it wouldn't have the same curb appeal because it's like such an entry-level car, and it would probably depreciate a lot sooner. So I think probably it would slightly damage the brand if they were to come in with an altogether lower price car, which I know a lot of people would love, but the reality is they know they can sell cars at a higher price, so why would they sell cars at a much lower price? Porsche have done a very good job of keeping the Porsche brand desirable, and if they produce a car which is low in quality, low in cost, then I think they lose that. Not all of it, but I think they would lose that, and they would kind of just fall into the trap of being a general run-of-the-mill car, which they're not. So the next thing is keeping up with the Joneses. I think if you've got a Porsche, you're generally seen to be or associated with success, having a good life, and having probably a little bit of money. Now, I know that's not always the case because there are so many different reasons and ways to get a Porsche car, but it's generally seen that somebody is successful and doing well in life. And if your neighbor, if your friend pulls up in a Porsche, you might be experiencing a little bit of jealousy, which I think is totally normal, because you're thinking, well, how has they done that? And you kind of want to do the same. Not always, but you should be happy for them, of course. But I think there's also an element of like, well, he's got one of those, why can't I go and get one of those? And so I think it's in some affluent areas, it's almost like a game. It's a big challenge of who can get the most outrageous car, who can get the most expensive car, even though they may not actually even have the means to pay for these cars. As I say, there are so many ways to get these cars, which I won't go into right now, but I think certainly keeping up with the Joneses certainly contributes to the fact that people are getting these Porsches because they just want to be seen to be successful and maybe having a nice life. And you know, everybody does want a nice life, everybody does want to be successful, so why not show it with a nice shiny Porsche? So the next one we're going to talk about is the interest rates. High interest rates at the moment, certainly here in the UK, means that people are generally going to be paying more for a car if they go down the whole finance route. Now, somebody going out to buy a brand new Porsche will probably get it on finance. They'll pay money up front and then the rest on finance. And if the interest rates are high, it means your monthly payments are going to be higher. So people might not necessarily want to do that, in which case they may, again, as I mentioned earlier, look towards the used market. Now, you're going to get a better deal in the used market. You're going to pay less for a used car, but ultimately, I think a lot of people still will need to get a bit of finance on a car which is maybe 70, 80 grand. For that reason, you know, people are more likely to go to the used market, and therefore, again, we go back to the whole COVID thing, prices are more likely to stay high. If something's in demand, the price generally goes up or stays high. Of course, there are a few flaws to this element because interest rates are subject to change at all times, and some people just don't need finance on these cars. Some people just have enough money in their back pocket or down the side of their sofa to go out and spend 90 grand on a used Porsche, which is a great position to be in, a very lucky position to be in, but that's one of the factors why the prices will stay high. And the last one on the list, this is the one that I was really interested to get your thoughts on. It is the impending doom that is the electric car market. Now, it's no secret that every car manufacturer is trying to reduce their emissions output. In doing that, they're saying our cars are going to be fully electric by the year 2040 or whatever it is. And I think ultimately, every car manufacturer will eventually have to go down that route. So these Porsche cars with the, you know, the petrol, not the diesel engines, but the petrol engines, they may ultimately become a thing of the past. And like the classic cars of today, they are seen as such an iconic thing to have, such a luxury to have, that the prices of these go up because everybody wants them. It might be a different story if the taxes on these cars and the insurance on these cars is too high, or if the fuel prices just goes out of this world. Then yeah, you know, I can see why people wouldn't want to buy these, and it might go the opposite way. But for the reason that, you know, in future probably everything will be electric, these cars will be a great addition to any enthusiast to still be able to hold on to the dream of being able to drive one of these naturally aspirated or even turbocharged petrol cars. So what do you think on that, guys? Please put a comment in the box below. I'll be really interested to see if you agree with any of these, disagree with any of these, or if you have your own suggestions on to why the Porsche prices of today are so high. There's so many factors, there's so many things to consider, and everybody has, I guess, a different angle depending on their own certain circumstances. So it'd be interesting to hear points of view from all different parts of the Porsche world. Guys, thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please give it a like. Please hit that subscribe button if you want to see more Porsche content and other content on this channel from my other vehicles. Please hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you on the next channel. The next video. See you guys.